go hand in hand. He's celebrating the 20th anniversary of Penthouse, and he's got the lawsuits to prove it. Please welcome its founder and publisher, Bob Guccione.
Great audience.
Yeah, they are the best. Not only here, but through that camera. It's a great audience, too.
Hello, Ma.
Interesting for Bob Guccione to say hello, Mom.
Oh, always. Yeah, she's waiting for that.
Yeah. Are you tight with Mom?
If I didn't say hello to Mom, she'd be upset. Yes, we're tight. We're very close.
Real close?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the lawsuits, first of all. Everybody in the limelight... Everybody in the limelight is exposed. Nice watch.
Thank you.
Very nice watch. Everybody in the limelight is exposed to lawsuits. Yeah, I told you. It's a nice watch. What kind of lawsuits specifically are you exposed to?
Well, all media is vulnerable. People think that Penthouse is easy pickings. It's easy to sue us. And lawyers often tell their clients, well, you can sue him because he doesn't have the sympathy of the court, and the magazine is not a sympathetic thing, and the likelihood is they'll settle out of court. And so a lot of people have tried. But we never, to this date, we have never, ever settled. We fight everything, every time, because if we once gave in, if we once tried to settle, then that would bring all kinds of other people out of the woodwork thinking that they, too, could just make a claim against us and we would settle for something less than it would cost to go to court. The New York Times does this, incidentally. And we're the only other publication that I know of that has 100% record of fighting everything that's ever been brought against us. And we've never, ever lost a libel action or an invasion of privacy suit. As many of those cases has been brought against us, we've always succeeded. We've always won.
Yeah.
But it's expensive. It's
Oh, yeah. But you gotta fight.
It's really part of the overhead, and we have to look at it that way. There's so much a year that goes to lawyers, and that's, you know, what we have to live with.
Yeah, you got to fight for what you believe in. If that's what you believe in, go for it. You've been doing this about 20 years.
And we fight for things that have nothing to do with us. You know, sometimes we hear that a little news agent in some small town in the midsection of the United States was arrested for selling a magazine that has nothing to do with our magazine, or not one of our magazines. But we'll monitor the case, and if the guy is having a problem, we'll go in and help him. Because if it's a First Amendment issue, we're very, very much involved and very interested.
Yeah. You've, no, I...
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true.
That's cool.
We know it. I mean, people in the entertainment industry, and magazines are just as much entertainment as movies or television. We're very much aware of First Amendment issues. You know, what we can say on television, what we can elect to see for ourselves. Our freedom of choice is very precious to us. And it's one of the things that Penthouse takes real seriously.
Yeah. Now, you've been doing this about 20 years, right?
Yeah. Penthouse was brought to the United States 20 years ago. I started in London, England, in 1965. So altogether, we're about 24 years old, but the U.S. edition is 20 years old.
What made you start it?
I couldn't get a job. I was otherwise unemployable. Until I started Penthouse, I had only ever painted pictures. I was a painter. I didn't have any training for anything else. There was nothing, no serious trade that I could go into, no kind of management job that I could take. So I had to create work for myself. And I was, at that time, I used to support myself as a painter by writing and by doing cartoons, caricatures, that sort of thing. So I had worked myself into a newspaper in London where I went from Paris because I was really going broke in Paris. And I eventually became the editor of this paper, and I became its managing director. And I got very interested in publishing. And that's when I looked at the British newsstands and saw that the only magazine that was selling, the only men's magazine in England, was in fact the American Playboy. So it occurred to me that if one could create a similar magazine for the British audience, it being more focused and containing things of immediate interest to the English, it would have to be a success.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 years trying to raise the money to do it.
Yeah.
I was totally unsuccessful. So I did it eventually all on credit. And I thank God today, I knock on wood, that I never did get a financial partner. I never got anyone to help me in the beginning, and therefore I was able to keep it to myself. Now I'm grateful. Then I was very worried.
Yeah. We'll take a commercial. We'll come back and talk more about the magazine itself. This is Bob Guccione. We'll be right back.
Just how orange does Minute Maid orange taste?
In the last 20 years.
Since we began, well, sexuality hasn't changed, but people's attitude toward sexuality has changed considerably. We're a much more permissive society today, thanks in part to magazines like Penthouse, motion pictures, television. But the public attention is more diffuse. We're still as interested in sex as we ever were, but we don't buy as many copies of Penthouse as we used to. We don't go to see sexy films in the same numbers that we used to, because there's so much more to attract our attention. The video boom, for example, has taken a lot of attention away from books and newspapers and magazines, but we still maintain an enormous audience. We're sold all over the world. We have foreign editions in 13 countries, the most recent of which is Israel. We just launched the Israeli edition, if you can imagine that. A few years ago, I was told it was impossible. It would never happen, but in fact, we did. And just before going to launch the Israeli edition, talking about sexual mores, I was in Russia because we're launching Omni magazine, which is
also
a science
yours.
magazine.
Yeah.
It will be the first Western magazine to go uncensored into the Soviet Union and sell on the local economy. So my wife and I, Kathy and I, are going in September as guests of the Soviet Academy of Sciences, which is a long way away from Penthouse.
Yeah.
But while I was there, I spoke to the minister in charge of paper, print, publishing, and broadcasting about doing Penthouse for the USSR.
Yeah.
And I got a warm welcome. They told me they were very interested in lifestyle magazines from the West.
What do you say to feminists who say that Penthouse exploits women?
Well, what I say is, firstly, the girls who appear in Penthouse in the centerfold and other layouts are there because they want to be there. Nobody holds a gun to their head. Either they do it for ego gratification, they do it because their boyfriends want to see them there, or they do it for money or career opportunities, but they have a reason which is all their own. Now, feminists say that women should be able to make those decisions for themselves, that if a woman wants to do something, she should have the right to do it. And if we exploit anybody, we exploit the men who have to pay $4.50 or $5 to see a woman who is paid to do that.
Okay. You mentioned that Hugh Hefner had a magazine that you saw, and it kind of gave you the inspiration to start what you're doing. What is the difference in Hugh Hefner and Bob Guccione?
Well, I think Hugh Hefner really embodies his own, embodies the lifestyle that has been propounded by his magazine from the beginning. I mean, he is the epitome of the lifestyle that Playboy talks about. I'm not the epitome of that kind of lifestyle. There are elements of that. There are elements of Penthouse in my life, but there are elements of Omni magazine in my life. There are elements of many other things. I'm a very different kind of guy. Not better, not worse, but very different.
Yeah.
Now, my mother likes, she likes me better this way.
Yeah. What wouldn't you do to sell a magazine? I mean, there was a lot of controversy years ago because instead of holding your magazine until Vanessa Williams, Miss America, had finished her reign, you capitalized on the fact that she was Miss America and you put it out there, and it did very well, obviously. Let's deal with that.
Well,
let's deal with that.
That was deliberate. If we had waited until she finished her reign, then it would not have had the news impact that it did. And it was a tremendous news story. It was one of the biggest news stories of the decade. The papers were full of it, television was full of it.
Absolutely.
And the whole thing was pushed even further because of the attitude that the pageant adopted toward Vanessa and toward Penthouse. They couldn't make up their mind, and they had a press conference, and then they decided to fire her, and it was all done very publicly. Had none of that happened, had the pageant not intruded itself, it would have disappeared.
Wouldn't have been that interesting.
Would not have been as important.
So you don't feel guilty. When you look back, you don't feel guilty.
I don't feel guilty at all because the photographs The photographs.
Some of the
were-
Williams family here tonight. Look, we gotta
Vanessa
run, man. I
Williams,
wish we could
wouldn't even
finish
know
this.
her name if it wasn't.
Yeah,
if it wasn't
well,
for Penthouse.
you gotta come back. Come back again sometime.
Thank you,
Bob
thank you.
Guccione, we'll be right back.